The move to our new house in the backwoods was supposed to be a fresh start, a chance to leave behind the noise and chaos of city life for the tranquility of nature. My brother Alex and I were eager to explore our new surroundings, so as soon as we had settled into our new home, we set out on our first hike through the wilderness. The trail wound its way through dense forests and rocky outcroppings, the scent of pine and earth filling the air. As we trudged along, conversation flowed easily between us, our laughter echoing through the trees as we reveled in the freedom of the wilderness. But as the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting long shadows across the forest floor, a sense of unease settled over me. We had ventured further into the wilderness than I had anticipated, and the dense undergrowth made it difficult to see more than a few feet ahead. Just when I was about to suggest we turn back, we stumbled upon a small clearing bathed in the soft glow of the fading sunlight. In the center of the clearing crouched a figure clad in a blue jacket, his back to us as he hunched over something on the ground. My heart skipped a beat as I recognized the figure. It was Jake, a friend we had met shortly after moving to the area. With a grin, I broke into a run, eager to catch up with him and see what he was up to. But as I drew closer, a sense of unease washed over me. There was something off about the way Jake was hunched over, something unnatural about the scene unfolding before us. I squinted my eyes, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. And then, it hit me like a ton of bricks. The figure wasn't Jake at all. It was a grown man, his features twisted with an expression of primal intensity as he leaned over the carcass of a deer, stabbing it with an unsharpened stick. Fear clenched my heart as I stumbled to a stop, the realization sinking in like a lead weight in the pit of my stomach. I turned to yell at Alex to run, but the words caught in my throat as the man looked up and met my gaze. His eyes burned with a madness that sent a chill down my spine, his lips curling into a twisted smirk as he rose to his full height. Without a second thought, I turned and sprinted back the way we had come, my heart pounding in my chest as I pushed my body to its limits. Behind me, I could hear Alex's footsteps pounding against the forest floor, his breath coming in ragged gasps as he struggled to keep up. Panic clawed at the edges of my mind as we raced through the undergrowth, the man's laughter echoing through the trees like a twisted symphony of madness. But even in the face of unimaginable terror, a flicker of hope remained, a stubborn refusal to surrender to the darkness that threatened to consume us. With each breath, each heartbeat, I clung to the belief that we would find a way to escape the nightmare that had ensnared us. Just when all hope seemed lost, we burst into a clearing bathed in the soft glow of the moonlight, collapsing onto the ground in a tangled heap of limbs and exhaustion. For a moment, we lay there in stunned silence, our chests heaving with the exertion of our flight. But as the realization sank in that we had escaped the clutches of the maniacal pursuer, a sense of relief washed over us like a wave, banishing the shadows that had haunted our every step. As we caught our breath, we exchanged a wordless glance, the unspoken understanding passing between us like a silent vow. As the night wore on, and the forest outside grew cloaked in darkness, a sense of unease settled over our home like a heavy shroud. I lay in bed, unable to shake the feeling of dread that lingered in the air, my mind replaying the events of our encounter with the man in the blue jacket over and over again. Unable to sleep, I tossed and turned, my thoughts consumed by the mysteries of the forest and the sinister figure that had pursued us through its depth. And then, just as sleep began to tug at the edges of my consciousness, a sound from outside shattered the stillness of the night, a soft scraping against the window pane, like the whisper of 1,000 ghostly fingers. Heart pounding in my chest, I sat up in bed, my gaze drawn inexorably to the window. And there, illuminated by the pale light of the moon, stood the man in the blue jacket, his eyes fixed on me with a predatory intensity that sent a chill down my spine. For a moment, we stood locked in a silent tableau, his lips curling into a twisted smirk as he stared back at me with an unnerving intensity. And then, with a wave of his hand, he melted back into the shadows, disappearing into the darkness of the forest as if he had never been there at all. I sat there in stunned silence, my heart pounding in my chest as I tried to make sense of what I had just seen. Was it a trick of the light? A figment of my overactive imagination? Or had the man in the blue jacket returned to haunt us once more? his presence a chilling reminder of the darkness that lurked just beyond the edge of our reality. As the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, bathing the forest in its soft glow, I knew one thing for certain. Our ordeal was far from over, and as long as the man in the blue jacket lingered in the shadows, watching and waiting with his sinister smile, we would never truly be safe from the darkness that lurked in the heart of the backwoods. In the heart of the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, where the dense foliage clings to the mountainsides like a thick cloak, and the ancient trees whisper secrets to the wind, there lies a darkness that few dare to venture into. It's a place where time seems to stand still, and the line between reality and nightmare blurs into obscurity. This is where my story begins, amidst the towering pines and shadowy hollows, where terror lurks just beyond the veil of the forest. I had always been drawn to the untamed wilderness, to the thrill of exploring the unknown. So, when the opportunity arose for a solo hiking trip through the rugged terrain of the Smokies, I jumped at the chance. Armed with nothing but a backpack filled with supplies and a sense of adventure, I set out into the wild unknown. The trail wound its way through dense thickets and rocky outcroppings, leading me deeper into the heart of the forest. With each step, the world around me seemed to fade away, replaced by the primal beauty of nature untamed. But beneath the serene facade of the forest, I sensed something stirring, an undercurrent of unease that sent shivers down my spine. As the sun dipped below the horizon and darkness descended upon the land, I made camp in a small clearing nestled amidst the trees. The crackling of the fire and the rustle of the leaves overhead provided a comforting backdrop to the stillness of the night. But even as I settled in for the evening, a sense of foreboding gnawed at the edges of my consciousness. It was then that I first caught sight of him, a shadowy figure lurking just beyond the glow of the firelight. He moved with an eerie grace, his movements silent as a whisper as he slipped through the darkness like a ghost. My heart pounded in my chest as I watched him from the safety of my camp, his presence casting a pall over the tranquility of the forest. I tried to convince myself that it was just my imagination running wild, that the isolation of the wilderness had played tricks on my mind. But deep down, I knew the truth. I was being watched, stalked by some unseen predator lurking in the shadows of the night. With trembling hands, I reached for the hunting knife strapped to my belt, my fingers closing around the cool metal with a sense of desperate resolve. But even as I prepared to defend myself, a voice echoed in the recesses of my Menda voice that whispered of horrors too terrible to contemplate. As the night wore on, the sense of unease only grew stronger, until it felt like the very air around me was alive with malevolent intent. Every snap of a twig, every rustle of the leaves sent my heart racing with fear. But try as I might, I could not shake the feeling that I was being hunted, that I was nothing more than prey to be stalked and devoured by some unseen terror lurking in the darkness. With the first light of dawn, I broke camp and continued along the trail, determined to put as much distance between myself and whatever malevolent force haunted the forest. But no matter how fast I ran, how far I traveled, I could not escape the feeling of being watched, that unseen eyes were tracking my every move with a predatory intensity. Hours stretched into days as I wandered deeper into the wilderness, each step taking me further from the safety of civilization and deeper into the heart of darkness. With each passing moment, the sense of dread that gripped me grew stronger, until it felt like I was teetering on the brink of madness. But even in the depths of despair, a flicker of hope remained, a stubborn refusal to surrender to the darkness that threatened to consume me. With each breath, each heartbeat, I clung to the belief that I would find a way to survive, to escape the clutches of the nightmare that had ensnared me. And then, just when all hope seemed lost, I stumbled upon a clearing bathed in the soft glow of the moonlight. In the center stood a lone cabin, its weathered timbers a beacon of salvation amidst the darkness of the forest. With a surge of desperate determination, I raced toward the safety of its walls, praying that I had finally found refuge from the horrors that pursued me. But as I crossed the threshold, a shadowy figure emerged from the depths of the forest, his form obscured by the darkness that clung to him like a cloak. With a guttural growl, He lunged toward me, his eyes burning with a feral hunger that sent a chill down my spine. I stumbled backward, my heart pounding in my chest as I fumbled for the hunting knife strapped to my belt. But before I could defend myself, a blinding light pierced the darkness, bathing the clearing in its brilliant glow. It was then that I saw him, the figure that had haunted my every step, illuminated in the harsh glare of the flashlight. His features were twisted with rage, his eyes ablaze with a madness that chilled me to the bone. But even as he lunged toward me, I refused to surrender to the terror that threatened to consume me. With a fierce cry, I raised the hunting knife high above my head, ready to face whatever horrors lay ahead. And then, in the blink of an eye, he was gone, vanished into the darkness from whence he came, leaving me alone in the clearing with nothing but the pounding of my heart and the echo of his laughter ringing in my ears. I collapsed to my knees, shaken but alive, as the first rays of dawn broke over the horizon, banishing the shadows that had haunted my every step. And as I gazed out at the world beyond the cabin walls, I knew one thing for certain: I had survived. And though the darkness may still linger in the depths of the forest, I would never again let it consume me. For in the heart of the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, where the line between reality and nightmare blurs into obscurity, there are forces at work that defy comprehension. But even in the face of unimaginable horrors, there is always hope. And as long as I draw breath, I will never stop fighting to escape the abyss that lurks just beyond the edge of the world.